Welcome to another biblically based look into today's news from Christian Voice New Zealand. Now here's Mike Bain.
Hi, Mike Bain from Christian Voice New Zealand. Now ponder this. According to the writings of King Solomon, there's a time for every purpose. And if we were to apply that to our lives, is there time for, say, sin? While Solomon doesn't outright mention it, he did say there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. But here in Christian Voice New Zealand, we're into sin. Now, if you watch some of our extensive library of videos, you'll have picked it up by now. It gets mentioned as often as the word coffee is mentioned in a church. And like drinking coffee, we Christians are very good, very proficient at imbibing a bit of sin on a daily basis. A bit, hey, let's not downplay it. It's just because it's just a little word, but if we were honest, every day sin is a huge part of our day. Now, as a young boy indoctrinated into Catholicism, sin was a huge thing back then. We grew up with the idea that we had a guardian angel looking after us to make sure all our thoughts and our actions were puerile and they could be written down in a book somewhere. I don't know where. But equally, we were taught about the other angel, you know, the one from the dark side, the naughty one who would argue with the other guardian angel if he wanted to be naughty. Catholicism, don't worry, when I think back to those days, I too roll my eyes. I mean, we had these two angels in each ear, one supposedly encouraging you to be naughty, and the other one saying, don't. But regardless of how much bad stuff we did, well, we could just pop along to confession, tell the priest some tales. To be honest, I had an overactive imagination and would regale some shocking fantasies to the priest. It was a bit of a competition amongst my circle of friends as to who would come out and have the most Hail Marys, we would have to say. Sometimes if one of the boys received a lot, then we would divide them up, kneel in front of the plaster statue and recite them. So yeah, like most people, well, everyone I grew up with, sin, like it was all around me, you know, when in Rome. Well, the other intriguing thing was the differing levels of sin, like what was the proportion of swear words, you know, compared to one Hail Mary. So there it is. I'm a sinner, and I have to admit it. I've revealed everything. I've laid it all out. But what about you? While I admit my shortcomings, I do so each day. Ask God for forgiveness. Not just ask, but look for the reasons I've sinned, and how can I learn from it? Well, going back to King Solomon, he spoke about how everything God will call the past to account. You're thinking the Angels book, right? Me too. Ecclesiastes 3:17 tells us that God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked. For there will be a time for every activity and a time to judge every deed. Well, enough about me. So we can understand what sin is, let's talk about it. Don't worry, it won't take long. Sin is a multifaceted term with various interpretations across cultures and belief systems. Primarily, it refers to actions or thoughts that violate divine or moral laws. Well, here's some key aspects. Religious context, for one. In religious context, sin represents a transgression against divine law of the will of deities. It encompasses both actions and inner thoughts. Different faiths have distinct views on what constitutes sin. Now, for instance, in Christianity and Judaism, sin purposely involves disobeying God's will. Sin can alienate individuals from their spiritual connection, creating a rift between the self and the divine. Then there's the moral and ethical dimensions. Beyond religious frameworks, sin extends to any behaviour deemed immoral, selfish, harmful, or shameful. It encompasses not only actions, but also words and thoughts. Now, the Encyclopaedia Britannica mentions anything reprehensible or regrettable may be labelled as sinful. You know, whether wasting time or committing grave offences, the concept of sin underscores the importance of ethical conduct. And then, of course, you've got the degrees of sin. Now, some traditions distinguish between venial sins, that's minor transgressions, and mortal sins, which are grave offences. Venial sins do not sever the soul's relationship with God, while mortal sins do. The severity of sin varies, but all forms highlight the need for self-awareness and moral rectitude. So, in summary, sin encompasses more than just religious wrongdoing. It encompasses our ethical choices, thoughts, and our actions. Plenty to think about. I'm going to leave it there, but just before my bad angel is overcome with despair, knowing all his work has been for naught, I'll just leave you with this little bit of an insight. Whether seeking forgiveness or striving for virtue, understanding sin invites introspection and growth.